You know, I just started watching Breaking Bad for the first time. Can't we talk about that instead? Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and yeah, that's right. We're here to talk about episode 3 of Ahsoka, as if more than 1.2 million people are watching the show. At least that's, according to the opening numbers from Samba TV, and I'm sure their word is good for it. And yes, the show opens with, frankly, what I can only describe as the most boring version of a Kurosawa-inspired samurai training scene in Star Wars. Like, how do you take a Kurosawa-inspired samurai training scene and use that to give the viewer a sudden onset case of narcolepsy? Because that is exactly what this show somehow managed to do. So yes, Sabine is training with a lightsaber. It turns out she's awful at it because, well, gotta give the show credit somewhere. At least one, this episode's shorter, so that's definitely a blessing. And two, Sabine isn't the ultimate girl boss because at least a female character in modern Star Wars does suck at something. But then it quickly moves on to dialogue, which is not this show's strong point, wasn't in the first 2 episodes, and that hasn't been rectified by episode 3 because Rosario Dawson still plays the character like a plank of wood. Yes, the ever bubbly and expressive Snips from the Clone Wars is now completely flat and monotone. This is a trend I'm sure we will continue to see throughout the entirety of the series, and Sabine is not much better. I will say, the acting, while not changed, may have actually gotten worse with one particular character. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Hera Syndulla, has an incredible job when it comes to, making this show somewhat more awful than I thought it could be. So she is, the scene cuts, it cuts after the training scene to Hera Syndulla, again played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, trying to convince the new Senate, the Senate for the New Republic, to allow her to take a squadron of New Republic soldiers to search for Thrawn. Which is a futile ask, by the way, because the Senate tells her no, turns her down, and then she tries to get all girl boss and tell some dude in the Senate that never fought in the war, oh, you just sat in the back and waited to see who won, thinking she was gonna flex on him. And then even Mon Mothma, another female, was like, hey, Hera, chill, we're gonna talk, we're gonna confer. And then, yeah, they don't give her the go-ahead, so that's pretty awesome. But in that scene, there's an attempt to give some sort of emotion to the character, which I guess I'll give some modicum of credit for. But, yeah, just talking louder and widening your eyes does not actually do that much for your acting talent, your acting credibility. Like, it was some real early 90s Keanu Reeves work going on is what I was getting from Mary Elizabeth Winstead in this scene. Wasn't convincing in the slightest, so again, at least they tried to have some range of emotion. We can give them like a participation trophy, right? Oh, and if you thought this show wasn't already grave-robbing from the EU as is, being, based on Heir to the Empire and having to deal with Thrawn, Hera has a son, by the way, her son with Kanan Jarrus, who's named, I kid you not, Jason. Yes, Jacen, Jason. The famed character Jason Solo, the son of Han Solo and Princess Leia from the EU. Well, yep, no, that's not their kid anymore. Hera Syndulla's son is now Jason. We could have just had, instead of Ben Solo / Kylo Ren, we could have had Jason Solo in the sequel trilogy, but nah, they wanted to go ahead and not only grave rob the corpse of the EU, but also defile it with some, cinematic necrophilia, so that's awesome. So after that scene doesn't go the way Hera plans, the show cuts again, and this time it is Ahsoka and Sabine traveling to the planet where they're going to get more information on Thrawn, the planet where they think that Morgan Elsbeth, from the previous episodes, is hiding out. They want to interrogate her and get some information, and we get to see quite possibly the dumbest thing I've seen in Disney Star Wars yet, and we've seen this. So yes, a dogfight in space ensues, which, that's all well and good, dogfights in Star Wars. I didn't expect it to be very good coming from this show, since, Disney Star Wars isn't good, but hey, whatever, Star Wars dogfights, let's see what they got. And then, Ahsoka gets out of the ship, wearing a spacesuit, to fight off the incoming starships with her lightsaber. First of all, very convenient that her starship, that her spacesuit has covers for her lectu, her tentacles, and they're the exact perfect fit and size. I mean, that is really convenient. I didn't know they had like custom-made Gucci stuff in a galaxy far, far away, but I'm glad that Ahsoka has the credits to spend on custom-made spacesuits that can, fit her tentacles. That's a real nice attention to detail there. It just looked so absurdly silly, and of course, they've got the starfighters coming in, shooting at Sabine, who's, piloting the ship, and Ahsoka, and yeah, Ahsoka literally lightsaber just deflects blasts and cuts them down, all while floating in space and somehow maintaining her attachment to the ship. I mean, we could say she's using the Force to do so, but there's no gravity in space, and yeah, they kind of try and make a thing out of that. Like, she at one point jumps and starts to float away, but Sabine maneuvers this ship because she's such a hotshot pilot that Ahsoka's able to land on it again. Even so, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of those things that was pitched in the writing room, like, hey, we've never seen someone use a lightsaber in space. Well, first of all, yeah, we have the Star Wars anime, Star Wars, what was it? Not Echoes, whatever the Star Wars anime that was on the Disney Plus was called. First of all, we did see it in there, but if you know what, let's say that doesn't count. It's anime, so the writers who don't even know their own source material thought, we never seen this before, it'll be awesome. Guys, it was not awesome. I've had Cheetos dipped in Velveeta that had melted American slices over it that was less cheesy than what we had just saw. Like, they just grated up the extra cheddar on this scene. Also, completely unrelated, if I can find a photo of it, I'm going to put it up there, but does Sabine look like Ezra Miller in this shot to anyone else? At one point while Sabine is firing the blaster, she says to Ahsoka, "You changed all my presets," and I audibly laughed out loud. I was like, presets? On a blaster? Like, Are Star Wars ships and blaster rifles like Fender amplifiers for guitars now? Just all these presets in them. It's a gun. You point and you shoot. What the hell do you mean presets? It was such a weird line that did not feel like it fit in Star Wars whatsoever. And yes, you could say that that's incredibly nitpicky, but I mean, do you really think that, blaster presets, the way it's phrased, is something you would hear in the Star Wars universe? And if so, why haven't we heard it thus far when this is hypothetically right after Return of the Jedi? They've had, like, world building after world building, whether it be Disney or not, for the last several years. And, hey, did you change my presets? Or I see you're not using my presets or whatever. It was so ridiculous to hear. I don't have a whole lot of words for it. Either way, the droid, Hui Yang. I don't even remember the droid's name at this point, which is funny because he's the same one from Star Wars Rebels. One of the only tolerable characters in the show. He gets blasted. You think that he dies because the ship that they're piloting gets hit, and no, of course, spoiler alert, he does not. No, he just had to power cycle. He had to call tech support. "Hello, how can I help you? Turn it off and then on again." And then, they turn him off and on again. He is fine. Hu Yang is fine. The droid that, we saw visibly have sparks come out him and stuff after the ship was shot, he's cool. Just need turned off and turned back on again. So, once again, absolutely no stakes. And they find out that the ring that Morgan Elsbeth is on, is a hyperspace ring that is going to be used to jettison them from one galaxy to another. And then they even go on to say that there have been Jedi that have experienced, way back in the days, the Jedi had archives about intergalactic travel. Really? So the Jedi had intergalactic travel for millennia now, and it's just now coming up in this one-off Disney Plus show. It's never been mentioned in universe before. We don't have any other information on any other galaxies. This whole thing that exists in a galaxy far, far away. I know I said in my previous review that it bothered me that they had not mentioned any other galaxies, because for those that know their EU knowledge, there aren't any other galaxies that are known about until the Yuuzhan Vong arc, which again, I hope never comes to Disney Star Wars. So the fact that now for millennia, Jedi have had in their archives, hyperspace lanes to get to other galaxies, which supposedly they don't have ships to do. That's why Morgan Elsbeth is building one. Why did they have ships that were able to do intergalactic travel thousands of years ago, but we don't have them now? Look, I know that our government tries to tell us, hey, we lost the technology to put a man on the moon, we don't have it anymore, which is already very difficult to believe, but now we're getting that same thing in Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away, where we're supposed to... Guys, this is not how you write. Like, I'm not gonna claim to be some, incredible writer or know what it's like to be in a writing room. I do know, though, that if I was to work for Disney, which, fat chance of me getting hired for Disney, straight white male and all that if I was to work for Disney, I, too, would love to sit and jerk off in a writer's room and do a shit ton of cocaine and not learn a thing about the source material for what I'm writing for and get paid to do so, because that is clearly what these writers are doing. However, they do land on the planet that is behind the space ring, and in doing so, they aggravate a bunch of giant space whales. And, these space whales, if you know your Rebels lore, are the same space whales that took, Grand Admiral Thrawn at the end of the series, which, by the way, was a stupid way for him to go out and was not, in any way, shape, or form reflective of his character from the books. But we're not complaining about Rebels right now. Well, really we are. We're complaining about Ahsoka, which is basically Rebels Season 5. But point is, yes, they see, pods of these space whales, and they go through this flight sequence where they dodge them, and I mean, the effect looked fine. I mean, it's about what you would expect for, the Disney, Disney Plus Star Wars series. Like, it's got some modicum of a budget behind it, but after this long of not caring about Star Wars, very little is probably going to impress you at this point. And then we get to see the pretty space whales that remind you, hey, don't forget, these are what took Thrawn. And they land in a forest, and they shut the power down for the ship. That way they can hide from the Sith. And, oh yes, because the Sith are trying to track them down onto this planet to kill them. Or what we assume to be Sith. The show still really hasn't even told us. And that's where it ends. Like, again, at least the episode was barely over 30 minutes, which was an absolute blessing compared to the 1 hour first episode and the 45-ish minute second episode. Like, I like how each episode is getting shorter as it goes on, because by this rate, maybe we'll have like a 5-minute season finale, because I don't know how much more my mind can take, guys. Yeah, this is a much shorter video, much shorter review, mainly due to the fact that this is a much shorter episode, and not a lot happens. It was a few scenes of talking, which again, not the show's strong suit, and then a few really long, drawn-out action scenes strung together, or maybe you can say it's all one giant action scene. Either way, not really relevant enough for us to continue talking about. I mean, the recap alone took several minutes of runtime. Like, if you were to cut out the recap, then this is probably like a 22-minute episode, a far cry from the 1 hour that was the first episode. So, I mean, I guess that means they're running out of ideas, which, hey, you guys know that you can always, pillage the EU some more. It's not like you can do anything else to ruin it further. You've already done such a bang-up job at that. Yeah, all in all, I'm going to go ahead and stick with this show. I'm already in this deep, and I'm actually interested in how bad this can get, because I thought that Disney Star Wars couldn't get any worse, and I'm dumbfounded by what we've seen in Ahsoka so far. So, yep, go ahead and check back here next week, next Wednesday after the next episode drops, and you can just vicariously experience the episode through me. And I know that I didn't give the most detailed description of the show, but trust me, whatever your imagination can put together is probably better than what you would watch your time visually seeing on screen. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, usually 2 videos a day, but these Ahsoka videos, and reviews, man, they just take everything out of me. So yeah, 2 videos a day, Thursday through Sunday. And, you guys aren't getting 2 videos on Wednesdays, not on Ahsoka Day. Ahsoka Day has me angry enough already. But please do subscribe. Like I said, I'm a nerdy news channel, and until then, it's all here in the nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.